What's going on, everybody? Anon here, and I've been wanting to do an update video on Sorcery Contested Realm for a little bit now, but Pokemon's been going so crazy. I figured I'd hold off, but yeah, this is late night on the East Coast, so I figured I'd do one. Have a little bit of time. So, anyway, Sorcery Contested Realm is the artwork's fantastic. The gameplay is pretty cool. The cards are nice. Now, the quality's slightly above average, maybe plus plus, if you will. But one of the big questions when the set came out, and the set came out Kickstarter, was can the game keep enough attention to, or do enough to keep people's attention? Because their entire premise to start was one set a year. And as we know, all the main games have at least 4 sets a year with some small ones in between. I think Flesh and Blood is doing 3 sets a year now. So you need that constant infusion of distraction or hype or whatever to call it, just to keep players playing. Because generally speaking, if you think about this from a marketing perspective, you have your cost of customer acquisition, but once that customer leaves, getting them re-engaged is far more difficult, far more expensive, and expense is a relative term here because it's not like most of these games aren't really doing a whole heck of a lot of marketing, right? It's the LGS, etc. Um, so it's interesting here. So the alpha set came out, I believe it was July of 2023. July 2023. Yeah, July 2023. Beta came out in November of 2023 after a ton of delays, and beta is the same as alpha. So beta has effectively been out for a little bit over a year. And the whole premise, in addition to once a year, was the sets wouldn't be overprinted. They'd be collectible. They'd have value. But then comes the dilemma of it's a fine line between the boxes going to the moon in the short term and printing enough so people can actually play the game and you're growing the player base and increasing the floor in the long term. So it is certainly an extremely unenviable task. So if we look at beta, and a lot of the investors collectors have gotten absolutely lost their mind on this, and I think this one has been a little bit of a problem as well. So there have been at least 4 different reprints of beta. I shouldn't say reprints, 4 different restocks. Team Covenant, who they do indie games, they're based out of Oklahoma. They have some sort of exclusivity deal where they have to sell this at MSRP. So they went out of stock initially in March of 2024. And, you look at the price chart here, it's right here. So, the MSRP on this is 150, went up to 292. I think it was just shy of 300. And then it sold off. And, you can see the slow bleed down here. And, I think part of the slow bleed is really the fact that the set's stale. It's been out for so long. I mean, you can see there's not a whole heck of a lot of it selling. And quite honestly, it's a little bit on the pricey side. But the company came out recently and said they're going to reprint more of this. Now, to be fair, they said it's going to be selective, but it's like dead horse is dead, guys. Like, move on to a new set. I get it. That's your 403, 402 card base set, but you guys have to make sure that people can play with the sets independent of each other. So moving on, we have Arthurian Legends, and this is where kind of the rubber meets the road when it comes to proving, in my opinion, that the concept is most likely going to be a failure. And again, I have a bunch of cards. I participated in the Kickstarter. I have plenty of skin in the game. I'm just kind of looking at this independently, and the alpha box at one point were $1,500, and that price is unsustainable. But let's look at Arthurian Legends. So this set came out in October of 2024, and it came out in 2 different print waves. So there was an initial wave that was pretty sizable, and then a second wave was supposed to come in right around Thanksgiving. And from what we were told is the first wave is going to be 70%, and the second wave is going to be somewhere around 30% of the total print run for the product. Well, the problem is the first print run came out. Let me go. Here we go. So the first print run came out, and you can see, it's just been a downward decline. Good volume, couple hundred boxes, and then you see this start to recover, and then all of a sudden they just dump product on the market. And for the longest time, you could get this at PhD, Southern. They ended up pulling it off the market, and I kind of suspect the company told them, pull it, enough is enough. Could be totally wrong, but there's just so much of this product where it just kind of became junk. And again, it's the quality's nice, the cards are nice, but I think ultimately the set's underwhelming. It's only a 220 card set. It doesn't stand on its own very well. Quite honestly, I think the planning is quite poor, and I just think it's poor because of lack of communication. The card types have changed, where you now have an attack and a defense rating, and the deck size has changed. But I think the more important thing is you have the natural decline in sales volume because quite honestly there's not much going on with the set. And after that initial hype, the set just kind of sells off, and that's it. And then they dumped all this extra product, and if we look at the sales here, there's 438 boxes, but the sales have pretty much fallen off a cliff. And I have two big ones, but this is somebody dumping $84 and somebody saying, hey, I can get it effectively distro price. But there's not a whole lot of sales. Three today, 4 yesterday, and you have this little dump. But like 2 on the 22nd, 1 on the 20th, 3 on the 19th. I mean, this product's just going to sit out here and rot forever. And it's a shame. And if we look at the cases, so you had 425, 450 boxes there, and there's still 57 cases in here. And so you have another 300 boxes. So you have damn close to 800 boxes for something that's selling 1 or 2 boxes a day. Not a whole lot of volume here at all. So you have a game that said, we're going to do 1 set a year. The new set comes out in October. It's now the 24th of January, so October, November, December. So we're 3 months into a 12-month cycle. So a quarter of the way there. There's too much of the product out, so the value of the product's gone down. People don't want the product because the value of the product's gone down. The people who aren't playing the game, the players already have the cards. So now we have an interesting dilemma of we have a 9-month period of nothingness until a new set comes out that nobody knows anything about. And, I think the company disclosed what the name of the set was, but other than that, there's not that much there. So it's going to be interesting because the company talked about some mini Dragonlord set, which is like 12 cards or whatever, but then they didn't know how they're going to roll it out. And I mean, 12 card set doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter how cool it is. It's not going to pass the time. And, with Arthurian Legends, they didn't do pre-con decks. So LGSs don't have pre-cons to use per se. So, the whole thing's been a comedy of errors that's kind of turned into a shit show. And, it's a shame because the cards are beautiful. The artwork's great. The gameplay it's a little clunky, but it's pretty good. Very strategic. But the execution on the product and the lack of hype cycle and just kind of the poor planning around human psychology and, the hubris of some of the management teams, it's just going to be the downfall. And, I think, unfortunately, we're just going to have to call this, Sorcery Forgotten Realm, because by the time the next set comes out, everybody's going to be moved on to other games and kind of disappear. So anyway, guys, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord. We'll get back to a lot more Pokemon and a little bit of Magic starting tomorrow. So, all right, guys, have a good night.